Howdy, folks. Was St. Peter the greatest of Jesus' original 12 disciples? St. Peter is certainly the most commonly mentioned of the original 12. He always stands at the head of the list whenever the names of the 12 apostles are given in the Bible, and he was clearly part of Jesus' inner circle, even within the 12. He's unquestionably the most prominent of the 12. But did Jesus give him a special role among the 12, a special position, or was he just more active than the others? Jesus gives us an answer to this question, and in an unexpected place. Jesus took 3 disciples with him to the Transfiguration: Peter, James, and John. These 3 were uniquely privileged to witness the Transfiguration, and they, together with Peter's brother Andrew, formed Jesus' inner circle within the 12. After these 3 received the special privilege of seeing their master's glory, it's not surprising that a dispute broke out among the 12 concerning their relevant ranks. This provided Jesus with an occasion to give them both a lesson in humility and a lesson in leadership. In Luke 9, we read, "And an argument arose among them as to which of them was the greatest. But when Jesus perceived the thought of their hearts, he took a child and put him by his side, and said to them, 'Whoever receives this child in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives him who sent me. For he who is least among you is the one who is great.'" It's possible for us to learn several lessons from Jesus' response to the disciples' quarrel. One is that it was foolish, although still very human, for the disciples to be concerned with rank in this way. A second is that, as so often is the case, the nature of Christian truth is paradoxical. The one who is great in God's eyes is not automatically the one who's great in man's eyes. It can even be the one who seems least, like a little child. That's why it's important to receive even the least of God's people with Christian love, for to do so is to receive Christ and to receive his Father. But there's another lesson that some may be tempted to draw out of this passage, which is that the apostles weren't just foolish to question who was the greatest among them because it revealed a preoccupation with rank and pride, but because there wasn't one, because they were all equal, and none of them had a special position. That would be a little hard to square with the fact that Jesus had just taken 3, who we know from other passages were members of his inner circle, to witness the Transfiguration. Indeed, Jesus himself indicates that some are greater than others in God's eyes, and that has to do with how they serve others. But we don't have to leave the matter here. Surprisingly, it comes up again in Luke's Gospel, and Jesus gives us a specific answer to the question. The next time it comes up is in Luke 22, in the account of the Last Supper, where Jesus gives us a much fuller answer. We read, "A dispute also arose among them, which of them was to be regarded as the greatest." At this point, it's easy to roll our eyes. Jesus may have rolled his too. Why didn't the disciples take the hint the last time the subject came up? Why are they bringing it up now, at the climax of Jesus' ministry? Whatever the reason, Jesus gives the apostles a 3-part answer. The first thing Jesus does is spell out to the apostles the principle of servant leadership, a leadership model that he himself employs. The one who leads is to be the servant of all. He tells them, "The kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and those in authority over them are called benefactors. But not so with you. Rather, let the greatest among you become as the youngest, and the leader as one who serves. For which is greater, one who sits at table or one who serves? Is it not the one who sits at table? But I am among you as one who serves." The second thing Jesus does is to assure the apostles that they will all have a prominent place in his kingdom. He tells them, "You are those who have continued with me in my trials, and I assign to you, as my Father assigned to me, a kingdom, that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel." The third thing Jesus does is to indicate that one of the apostles does indeed have a special role, a leadership role, among the 12. He says, "Simon, Simon, behold, Satan has demanded to have you, that he might sift you like wheat. But I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail, and when you have turned again, strengthen your brethren. If you look at the structure of Jesus' answers to the apostles' question, it becomes clear what he's doing. First, he explains the general principle of servant leadership, something that applies to everyone. Second, he assures them that they will all have a prominent place in his kingdom, something that applies to the 12 in particular. Third, he assigns Peter a special role among the 12, something that applies specifically to him. And so we have an answer. Peter wasn't just an especially active and thus especially prominent disciple. Jesus gave him a unique pastoral role among the 12. He doesn't just come out and say, Peter's the greatest. That might have solved the controversy, but then the apostles would not have had the assurance that they would all have special places, and even more importantly, it wouldn't have given them the lesson on the importance of servant leadership. He thus teaches them the important spiritual point before answering the question directly. The passages where the apostles discuss who is the greatest are sometimes thought of as proof that none of them had any special role, but as we've seen, that's not the case. In fact, quite the opposite. As we've shown in another video, Jesus also declared Peter the rock on which he will build his church. That's another passage in which Peter is given a special role, one that would be inherited by his successors, the popes. Incidentally, if you like the information I've presented here, I'd invite you to join my Secret Information Club. It's a special service that I operate by email for free. I send out fascinating information about the Catholic faith, and in fact, the very first thing you'll receive when you join is information about what Pope Benedict says about the Book of Revelation. He has some very interesting things to say, so I hope you'll check it out. Just go to www.secretinfoclub.com to learn more and sign up. Thank you.